context, we run one of our companies as part of the larger group is Cravatex Brands, the one that I run, where we do the FILA brand in India. We have our own Indian original brand called Proline, as well as we trade the American footwear brand Vans. We also have a separate vertical that does fitness and wellness equipment. So we do installations for gyms, etc., and we distribute these products across. Our business is really a creative platform. So we do everything from design, sourcing, marketing, and distribution. So typically, as well, with all the brands that we work with, we do have some element of design and sourcing input or product development input as well. So that's a bit of a background about who we are, what we do. Our overall larger group does various brands across the world. Our headquarters is in the UK in London. So some are like Russell Athletic. We do the FILA brand for Europe. We also do, Juicy Couture is the latest one that we just added to our portfolio. So sure. Yeah, that's a bit about me. Thank you for the kind introduction.
Thank you so much for that, Rohan. But we always wonder, Italy, India, and streets. And how did you all sort of tie it up together?
We started off, my family company started off as a supplier to FILA about 30 years ago. So it's been a long journey, and there is no other brand like FILA in the world in the way it's structured. So unlike most brands where you have a centralized approach where every country is a subsidiary, FILA has a partner in every country. So right. We happen to be partners with FILA for a whole host of countries. In fact, we do India, and since you have students in the Middle East, we do the Middle East as well. So when you go to Mall of the Emirates or Dubai Mall and you see our stores, that would be our company as well doing it. So it's a licensing arrangement where we are quasi brand owners in the markets in which we operate.
Right. And how did the Indian landscape sort of develop over the last few years? I'm taking away a little bit and perhaps delving a little bit into streetwear and street style and sneakers. How do you think the landscape is kind of changed? How's it evolved?
It's been an interesting few years for sure in India. When we started, at least when I started in this role a fair few years ago, we didn't have so much of a sneaker culture. It was very much an imported thing. So people would be exposed to it globally. And I think what's changed is, of course, with Indians looking outward, the knowledge base has grown. And then with that has come, a very localized approach to streetwear, towards fashion, towards, even luxury, as well as sneaker culture. So there are homegrown brands which are doing amazing things. There are local retailers who are doing phenomenal things. And there are, local consumers who are creating India's own identity within this whole global space of streetwear and sneakers and luxury fashion. It's changed a lot. I would say just the very fact that you can find anything you're looking for today in India, almost anything, is the biggest change, especially if you're a collector.
I'm sorry, I think we have lost Gauri. She did warn me about this. So I'm going to continue with the questions that she has until she comes back. So the question that we have for you right now is, what made you realize that FILA as a brand makes a great fit for the Indian market?
I think that FILA as a brand makes a great fit for any consumer. So it's not market specific. But for us, as part of the global FILA family, we do like to think about our local markets in a more, I would say, at a street level, as opposed to coming in from global and saying, this is what we do in the US or the UK, you must buy it over here. So I think when we looked at the market in India, we thought, what does India want and how does that fit within through a FILA lens? And we sort of applied our product marketing and go-to-market strategy through that lens, because I think every country is unique. We trade in almost every country globally.
Definitely,
But
definitely.
yeah.
Okay, that's actually really awesome. So, how is the landscape of streetwear and sneaker fashion evolving around India?
I touched upon that a little bit earlier. It's cool. Things are happening. Just in the last 3 years, there has been a huge proliferation of retail outlets where you can buy streetwear and sneakers. There's been a boom in local brands doing their own thing and taking their own spin. There's been a boom of small artisan designers, and it's growing every day. The resale culture is growing. The consumption culture is growing. So it's really cool. And especially as a guy who's been in and around shoes my entire life, it's quite nice to see. And although I am, what I like to think is young, I'm like the old guy now in the industry when it comes to sneakers and streetwear. I've been around since we started.
So that's really awesome. But I don't think it's about the age. It's mostly about the taste and the style, and that defines more than anything.
I suppose so. And if you speak to anyone who knows me, you'll know that my taste and style is very narrow. So I'm not a good example.
Welcome back, Gauri.
Thank you. That's very humble of you to say, Rohan. It's very kind of you to put it across that way. But how do you think luxury is kind of embracing streetwear in today's time? And we see a lot of brands are now collaborating with streetwear. We've seen a lot of luxury streetwear brands come up as well. What do you think is the scope?
I mean, it's about trend. Trends move, and ultimately, high fashion follows trend, or rather creates trend, or marries a trend that already exists and elevates it. So I think we are having a moment. The last 5 years have been really interesting for streetwear brands, sneaker brands, sports companies, etc. And it's great to see that the luxury brands themselves are open-minded and thinking beyond structured tailoring and high fashion, and trying to see more accessible product and more mass appeal when it comes to the kind of things that you consume on a daily basis. So one thing that's really interesting to see is luxury used to be for special occasions. Luxury has now become for every day. So if you want to connect with something on an elevated level on a daily basis, it might as well be the products that you consume on a daily basis.
All right, we lost Gauri again. We're sorry about that. So I'll move to the next question. And how does gardening and managing community help?
It's nice to say things like community and gardening. It's just basic fundamental things that have been around for all time. Whenever you have a product or a service and you have an audience for that product and service and you cultivate it, that will reap you loyalty as well as whatever.
I'm sorry, Rohan, but I think we're losing you. Your voice is really lagging.
From that community around. For us, it's about what do our customers and how do we connect the two. One of the oldest principles in new is just that the way we're no way of checking.
All right. So the next question is, what would be the coolest engagement activity? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we lost you for a minute. I think maybe my connection was not good, but we'll move to the next question. Welcome back, Gauri. Do you want me to take over?
Go for it, Jay.
All right, great. So what would be the coolest engagement activity that FILA has done in India?
Oh, I can't pick a favorite. We've done bunch we've done a bunch of stuff. Is we created a product from ground up for India's motorsport community. That was cool. That was a collaboration we did with Rohan Batra. We did an amazing design streetwear led collab with No Black No White, who are this incredibly cool brand based out of Delhi. We also did two retail in India. We're the only brand to have done it first. I think what was what we were lucky to have was we were here at the right moment. We understood the market that these kind of collaborations.
I'm sorry, Rohan, but we have trouble hearing your answer.
Were going to become something that's very
I'm sorry, Rohan. Okay, I think we lost them. I'm sorry, students. We're just gonna wait for him to get back. Just be patient with us. Thank you for your patience. Just give us a few minutes. It's all good. It's been happening to all of us lately. So I think we should repeat the answer of that question.
Oh God. I gave a really long one.
Yeah, I'm hearing seeing the chat box that students also couldn't hear it. So we really want to know your answer.
Well, I said that I can't really pick a favorite one. We had very special moments with doing collaborations in this country or doing creative things. We did do an amazing motorsport collaboration with Rohan Batra. We did an incredible couple of pieces of I wouldn't know how to describe them, but publications called the Culture Project. We collaborated with an amazing streetwear brand called No Black No White. We did two retailer collaborations with the only two sneaker retailers in the country, Veg Non Veg and Super Kicks. So I would say I can't choose a favorite because they're all like very special to me, but
Sure.
yeah, those are the ones that have really come to my mind.
That they sound really cool, actually. They sound really amazing. So the next question is, how does one turn around a streetwear brand that was going down slope in Italy, bring it to India and position it to be a huge success?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So I don't think, so FILA had a few years where its identity did drift, but it was not a question of taking something that was not doing well somewhere and bringing it to India. FILA globally has seen its entire makeup change in the last 5 or 6 years. The entire way we approach product, our entire thought process behind marketing, etc., and even the way we position our brand has changed, and that really has led to a global growth, and that's just been reflected over here. We didn't do anything special. We just took an amazing brand and applied it with a little bit of local market knowledge to India, and we saw it succeed.
Right. Rohan, would love for you to expand on some of the strategies that really worked as part of the success mantra.
One category that we never really had before was motorsport. We introduced a made in India motorsport collection. So it was inspired by India, by how people commute, especially. We also did our most recent one is something called the Tech Sandal. So the Tech Sandal was conceived by our design department right here in Bombay, where we thought about what in India would need in a performance sandal. Overall, for us, the biggest growth has obviously been in our apparel business. It's really been something incredible to watch, as well as specifically women's apparel, which is now our main driver going forward. So our footwear business is great and will always continue to be, but these are the few main categories that have come out as outstanding in the last few years.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Students, at this point, I'd suggest that you start putting in your questions in the chat box. And before I take the next question, this is a reminder to everybody to please make sure their microphones are also on silent. Rohan, the next question is, since it's streetwear and it's sneakers, what works better? Is it offline or does online work equally well?
I don't think that there is an offline and online anymore. We don't look at it like that as a brand. It's the same consumer will consume product through multiple channels, and it's all become different channels to reach the same consumer. So for us, obviously, offline gives a different experience to a consumer. So it's an ability to touch and feel the product and connect, at a human level. Online gives us reach. So no matter how successful you are as a company, you can't have a store on in everyone's neighborhood. So it gives an opportunity for people to consume our brand or reach our products in places where we can't reach physically. And I think a combination of both is very healthy. And especially in the last few months, where we've all been stuck at home, the ability for our consumers to reach out and get our products online has been a great, we've been surprised with the results over there, to be honest. Streetwear itself it has a long history of retail locations, whether it's Good Hood in London or like a Kith in New York or something like that, or even A-Life or Dover Street Market. The physical manifestation of a multi-brand streetwear retailer is still something that I think is very powerful and will continue.
Right. And speaking of streetwear, Rohan, we would love for you to break down how you perceive FILA as a streetwear brand for our students.
FILA is, I would say, our roots are in Italian sporting heritage. We started in a small town in the north of Italy. Our products have always been technical but stylish. And what happens is when you have products that are well designed and well put together, different cultures tend to adopt them. So streetwear isn't really a type of product range. It's whatever connects with people who, would like to wear products or how they perceive a certain product. So today, it's very difficult to call yourself a streetwear brand because what is streetwear and who is a streetwear consumer is very different to to nail down. We're an Italian sports lifestyle brand. Our history is in craftsmanship and design. So whatever market consumes, whether you're playing in center court at Wimbledon or you're buying a collaboration product with Comme des Garçons, Dover Street Market, to us it's all part of the same ecosystem of consumer.
Right. And Rohan, definitely, one of the key sort of ways of marketing of late, of since ever since the lockdown for sure, but in the last very many years now has become influencer marketing. What do you think is the role of influencer marketing when it comes to marketing for FILA?
I can just about sense my entire marketing team who's on this call getting nervous about what I'm going to say here. We try and approach things in a different way. The term influencer is very modern. It's something that's been around lately, but to be honest, an influencer is nothing more than someone who has an outsized influence over the community around them. So we do very organic kind of partnerships. We don't believe too much that just because someone endorses our product that it will sell. Our product has to be good, and the people who would like to consume that product will always show it off, and then whoever follows them for fashion advice or for trend, etc., will give us will understand our brand a little better and hopefully purchase something. So for me, I don't ascribe to the modern way of doing influencer marketing. We have a very I would say proprietary process of the way we approach it within our company as well, especially in India, where it's very difficult to measure things around that. So marketing is just demand generation for a company. So for us, it's all about how do we do something that fits within our brand message and not to be so overtly out there. I think I can give you an example of what we do. Sometimes we try and think outside the box. When I was trying to get the brand up and running in India, we didn't have an idea of how to reach out to people and say, hey, guys, we're cool and we're around. So we sent a whole bunch of people cacti, like a cactus, on Valentine's Day, and with no note or anything, just like a little poem saying, from your secret admirer. And a week later, everyone was going crazy. They were like, did you get one too? Oh, you got one too. Who's doing this? What brand is doing? Who's reaching out to us? What could it be? And then, a week later, we sent the same people a little locket with our FILA bear and a picture of themselves in it. And we just said, hey guys, we just want to know that we love you and we're in India and we're about to launch this collection or whatever. So I think if you look at it that way, rather than, oh, here's a product, can you please post and say, I love this t-shirt or something. For us, it's more fun. For everyone, it's more fun. And I think that's what it's all about, right?
I think that pretty much comes through the Instagram page as well, because you do see a lot of influencers, but it doesn't come across as very commercial in so many ways. It comes across as more like an emotion, like an experience for most of them.
Well, I mean, we look at anyone who works with us to shoot our product or to create imagery for us or content for us as we look at them in the way we would look at any brand ambassador or anything. So everything is approached in an elevated way. You won't be able to differentiate a campaign image from an influencer image, from a product image, from anything. It's the tone and creativity that you bring to the communication that's important. And we've always had that relationship, and we believe in a good, strong ecosystem with people who we partner with or we bring into our family, rather than just push out product.
No, it's a wonderful experience, I think, for everyone to sort of see a brand that's got PR and marketing into this wonderful marriage, which is very organically sort of helping promote and take further and find creative ways to reach out to the right target audiences as well. So kudos on that. I will now start picking up a few student questions. There's one from Serene's phone. Serene, would you like to come and ask your question? And to all students who would like to come and ask your question, you're most welcome to please switch on your cameras as I call out your name. You're most welcome to come and engage. So Serene is not here till now. I'll quickly read it out. It says, what is your strategy slash approach on keeping the brand identity alive during COVID-19?
We had it was a challenge for any brand to do so. We did a bunch of different things. We had a partnership with Spotify where we created custom music content, and we pushed that to our consumers at home. I think as a brand, your responsibility during this time is not to unnecessarily go out and create unnecessary conversation. We talked about it internally, and we said we should be communicating things that are relevant to the time, that are interesting for people to consume, because there's no point in pretending like nothing is going on. We are, at the end of the day, human beings on the other side as well. So we did a lot of stuff, like showed people how the brand itself is working from home, how our company is adapting and changing, how and recently with the unlocking of retail, we've been sharing a lot of content about why and how it is safe to go back out and shop again at our stores. Prior to that, we would never encourage anyone to do that because we know the risks that are involved. So I think we tried to take an approach of what do people really want to hear during this time, and we went with that. We didn't overdo it. We didn't just push out content for the sake of it, because I know I've been stuck at home. The way I'm consuming stuff and what I want to see is very different. I don't want to see product that I can't buy or some new launch which I can't afford. So
absolutely. Anamika Setia is next. Anamika, would you like to come and ask your question? Okay, allow me to navigate this. So she's asking your advice for aspiring shoe designers to make a career in India.
Give me a call.
Anamika, you're in very good luck today.
The serious answer is there aren't a lot of opportunities to design sneakers in the country, because there aren't a lot of guys doing it with global processes. So we are building a lot of creative talent within our company. We have our own design studio. So yeah, drop us a DM on Instagram.
Awesome. Anamika, you have that golden opportunity your way. Thank you so much for that, Rohan. Aditya would like to ask a question. Very quickly, in 3 seconds, Aditya, we have your camera on. We go ahead, else I just ask the question. And if in case Aditya is not answering, comes on the camera, then I'll just navigate everybody else's questions myself. Great. What are the top 3 marketing lessons you believe in, and what word of advice would you give to aspiring marketing professionals?
Oh God, another controversial question. I don't believe in, I believe that the only people who know your brand are the people who work for the brand. So at our company, we built everything in-house. So we don't look at it as PR, online, digital, etc. It's one team that works cohesively on every project. And in fact, we encourage sometimes just to mix it up. We swap them around in roles as well. So the number one rule for us is always the brand knows the brand. Nobody else can tell you about your brand. The second thing is that your message needs to be there for a reason. I think you have to understand why someone would consume a product or why they would want to hear from you. I think today we're bombarded with a lot of information. So there is a lot of pressure to be very vocal and out there, and a lot of pressure to try and please everyone with everything. So we try and make sure that our messages are simple, and we keep it very simple. So for example, the only ever newspaper advertising we've ever done is when we open a store, we put out an ad in a paper that just says, "Now open FILA," and then the address. So we try and keep it very simple. And the other thing is, I don't know, creativity is a process. It's not, it's creativity as operations. It's not touchy-feely. That's different. Creative and marketing are two different things. So one part of it is demand generation, and the other is, creative work. And even within creative work, there are processes that you need to build to ensure that you extract creativity in its purest form, rather than just have chaos, which it can descend into.
Absolutely. And what would be a word of advice that you'd give to students and aspiring marketing professionals?
Well, if you're a student, I would suggest you try your best to get a career started in a company that you admire. I unfortunately had a very different route to my job. I never got to work for any of my competition or any of the companies that I truly admire in our industry. It's something that I regret not doing, so I would suggest you do that. If you're already in marketing, I would suggest that stay away from other marketing people and think about consumers more than marketing people. People who buy stuff are more important.
And speaking of consumers is the next question, which is quite interesting. It's from a random phone. I'm afraid I would not be able to tell who's written this, but it says, how do we know who would be our ideal consumer?
There's no such thing. I use an iPhone. My dad uses an iPhone. If you had to try and define us, it's very difficult. Human beings like to be very structured and organized. Like, this consumer set, that thing. This is how we slice and dice it. But the world is chaos. It's very organic out there. The word organic means natural. So, I mean, you just look at the situation we're in today. It's so different to what we ever thought. So if you're a person who's locked into a certain consumer, you're better off leading with product always. Amazing products will find their natural consumer.
That's very, very beautifully said, and that's a very fresh point of view from what we usually get to hear from people. Rohan, this is very interesting. Thank you for that. Raj Manish is asking, do you believe streetwear brands should stick to a niche market only?
No, because I think that there are enough examples of ones that haven't. Again, it's about the consumer. So there is no such thing as a niche market unless you're selling something very specialized. So a streetwear brand by essence cannot be specialized because every place has streets and people who consume products in a certain culture. So there's no way a streetwear brand should ever specialize. It should always be openly accessible to everyone, regardless of their background. So I think that's the essence of streetwear. Whether you're a skateboarder or you're a rapper or you're someone who is a CEO somewhere, those doesn't matter. So I don't believe that streetwear should ever be limited.
Awesome. I pretty much agree. And before I read that question out, I had a pre-decided notion, but you being the expert, it's very important for students to get to understand your point of view on that. Isha is asking, what is your say on the environmental impact of the shoe industry, as shoes manufacturing produces large amount of carbon dioxide, which contributes to global warming?
I think that the entire supply chain of fashion has a lot to answer for. That starts also with consumers. Consumers consume a large amount of fashion all the time. And therefore, to keep up with that, we have to keep producing more stuff. That being said, the footwear industry itself is undergoing many systemic changes as we speak. So just in the last 18 months, the entire supply chain is being looked at in terms of water consumption and manufacturing processes, as well as materials that we use. And I think it is a journey because it's very difficult to turn the tap off. It's easy to say, very hard to do, and it really would require every company to have a very solid belief system behind it. I think the situation that we're in today with the pandemic has put us back some time because it has created a lot more disposable waste, and the nature of our interaction is around disposing of stuff. So it's gonna take some time. I think there are the best companies in the world out there that are committed to it. Us, we've done small things. We designed a shoebox which has no glue, natural ink printing. It just folds into itself and it's its own carry bag, so you don't need to carry anything. Take a separate bag for it. Small incremental steps like that, as well as an overarching intent to solve the problem, is the only way you can do it. I wish there was a simple way and an easy way, but often the most rewarding journeys are difficult. So hopefully we'll be able to find solutions to that.
Absolutely. That's really nice to know because very often, and now more than ever since the lockdowns happened, social media is bombarding everyone. There's so much conversation, there's so much noise about sustainability and ethical fashion and being more conscious, being a conscious consumer, conscious producer by itself. But all of this definitely does take an entire process to achieve, and there are little baby steps that I think brands, as because FILA is also now kind of embracing towards that, which we absolutely appreciate. Thank you, Rohan. This is very interesting for us to know. The next question we have is from Jasmeet, and she's asking if there is any specific reason why FILA isn't easily available, especially through stores, even in prominent cities like Bangalore. Is that so, Rohan?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you why. Companies grow at the rate at which they should grow at. We always take very considered and measured decisions before we enter into retail stores, because actually, if we were in a position today where we had a store in every city in India, we would have a massive problem on our hands. So it's more about slow and steady. We'll get there. We'll reach you through e-commerce. We'll open stores as and when we feel. We have a large pipeline of cities in our identified list where we want to open stores. It's just a question of we'll open them when we can. We don't like to take rash financial decisions.
I hope that answers your question, Jasmeet. And thank you for that. Serena is asking another question. She says, what do you think about FILA's own website to cater to a larger audience, keeping the pandemic in mind?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Could you repeat that, please?
Surely. It says, what do you think about FILA's own website to cater to a larger audience, keeping COVID in mind?
Yeah, we're launching our direct-to-consumer website soon. It's something that we've been working on for some time. It's important to have, and during these times, companies have leveraged their own websites, but we have great partnerships with every other online platform out there, and we are servicing our consumers through them as well.
Sure, thank you for that. And I have one student who's always there, very happy to come on camera and discuss and meet with industry. I would love for Davina to come and ask her own question. Davina, please, I welcome you to take up the space if you like.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Hi, Rohan. I'm Davina Chabra. My question for you is that
Hi.
as we can see, the entire footwear industry moving towards sustainability, and you even said about that. We also saw Roger Federer coming up with his own line of shoes, and that was also sustainable, made out of sustainable leather. So are we going to see Cravatex collaborating with a lot of sustainable brands, and you roping in a lot of sustainable brands to actually showcase on your website in the future?
Probably it's something that will be inevitable. It's something that we can't afford to not do, and we have to go out and do it. I would say that a lot of our products already have sustainable elements to them, whether it is in the manufacturing environment in which they are produced or in terms of the raw material procurement. And yeah, I mean, it is something that you have to have a real commitment to. So what I worry about is a partial commitment to something. So from our perspective as a brand, we want to make sure we do it correctly and entirely, rather than just dabble in a few pieces and components here and there.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Davina. Thank you, Rohan. And Rashida is asking, do you think having brand ambassadors helps boost sales for a brand? And does FILA have such strategy for marketing?
Brand ambassadors are again part of the history of sports brands. So for us, we are very proud to have amazing tennis players and sports personalities, etc., as brand ambassadors. Lately, we have seen that alignment with certain personalities or however, it's just a larger form of influence marketing. So currently we have a really cool partnership with BTS, the K-pop band. They're incredibly popular, and I think they fit very well into our brand image. I think it's good to have a balance of both, real organic as well as brand ambassador as well as everything. However, a brand ambassador will not solve a sales problem for you. It will never do. As a brand ambassador just augments an already good business. It will not define a good business. So I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. Rohan, this has been a very interesting one hour that we've had with you. Before we conclude with today's session, there's one very important thing that we'd like to ask you and make the best of your presence here with us today, which is, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to all our students?
Oh, that's a big one. I would say the most important piece of advice, if you want to have a career in running apparel, footwear, accessories, or any sort of fashion or retail company, is you have to be bulletproof in your mentality, because you don't know what's going to hit you and at any time, whether it is a global pandemic or a financial crisis or something. So that's a very important thing on your mentality, that you have to just be able to compartmentalize what's going wrong and then just be very solution oriented. And the other piece of advice is nobody should ignore the number side of business. So everyone would say, oh, I'm a creative person. You can be a creative person, but if you have to be successful, you have to understand the mechanics of running a company and taking care of people and building an organization. So I think those are the two bits of advice. Understand the mechanics and fundamentals of how businesses are run, and also be bulletproof in your mentality, that you can be more solution oriented than dwell on the problems. So yeah.
Awesome. Rohan, we can't thank you enough for joining us today. The 1 hour that you squeezed out for us is really very, very, we cherish that time that you took out for us. And I would also like to extend regards from Mr. Shivang Dhruva, the Academic Director and Founder at FAD International. And we'd love to invite you on both our campuses in Pune and Mumbai once things settle down, and hope to see you in Dubai as well. Thank you so much, Rohan, and thank you to all the students.
It was my pleasure.
At FILA, who made this possible. I know we had quite a journey to get this organized today. So thank you so much, Rohan. We absolutely enjoyed this. Thank you.